Hi, everybody. Welcome back to the show. I was reading a quote just the other day that I'd love to get people's feedback on. And this is by Yuval Noah Harari. And you might know him by his books, Sapiens, A Brief History of Humankind, and Homo Deus, A Brief History of Tomorrow. His videos have popped up lots, doing talks with the World Economic Forum and teaching lessons there and whatnot, and has a very specific perspective on humans and where we're moving and whatnot. And I was reading a quote that's where he said, humans are now hackable animals. The whole idea that humans have this soul or spirit and nobody knows what's happening inside them and they have free will, that's over. And I'm really curious to hear, what do you guys think about that? Are we hackable animals? And my question to you would be, why are we hackable? And if we are, is there a way that we can actually become unhackable? I think this is a really important question to ask, because the reality is, the more that I understand it, is that we are influenced by so much more than we think we are. And a lot of times we think that we're exercising our free will, but we're actually not. And that could be because of background beliefs, or even what he's talking about in different ways. We know there's things like dopamine hijacking that happen where we become into addiction and we just do things because we are feeding this sort of biochemical loop. So I want to know from you guys, what are your thoughts on that? Are we hackable animals? And is there a way out? What do you think the way out is? Because I feel like there's got to be a way that we can detach from that and be less susceptible to it. Now, I'm going to share with you one of the things that I do that I think is actually really important, is when he talks about this whole idea that humans have this soul or spirit and nobody knows what's happening. To me, part of the way out is to actually reconnect back to that. I feel like the more that we are disconnected from that, the more hackable we become, because we are less of ourselves, the true self, and we're more of something else that's false. So I think when we are connected more back to that, we are less hackable. We see through the illusion of that a little bit more. And so one of the things I would suggest to everybody is do more practices on trying to connect back to that essence of who you really are. One of the exercises that we do, and this is why we've created that free download, is go to the website and check out the Accessing Your Heart's Wisdom. Practice these types of exercises. Get into nature, get into stillness, start to sit with yourself and be okay with it. I think all of these are really vitally important right now, because I also think we are inundated by so many different frequencies, so many different subtle energies that a lot of times we really are just not aware of. They go well beyond the perceived five senses that we recognize our reality with. So I think these are some of the things that we want to have that give us a little more resilience from being so susceptible. So check that out. Just pop onto the homepage on inspirehealthpodcast.com and you can click on Accessing Your Heart's Wisdom. Just scroll down. I'll put a link to that in the show notes too. But everybody, it's just a free download. Just practice it. Just get used to doing that every day and see if you start to recognize yourself showing up a little bit differently in the world. Recognize how things feel inside your body when they either resonate or when they don't resonate, and just start paying attention to it. I think that process is so helpful, so that then when we interact with different things going on in our life, we are a more active participant in it. So check that out. And I'm going to segue over to our episode coming up with Joy. This was a really fun episode too. Joy's a laugh and just really, really wonderful person. We met her through Dr. Todd, and so we kind of became friends with her very quickly. But enjoy this episode. You're going to hear a lot more information on this whole series on life, death, and beyond, exploring our greater reality. All right, everybody, much love to all of you, and practice these exercises. Okay, I think right now, I actually think 2023 is an incredibly important, pivotal time in our history, and I think that we need to do more and more of this type of practice as much as we can. Okay, much love to all of you, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye-bye. Hi, everybody. Welcome back to the Inspire Health podcast as we continue on with our series on life, death, and beyond, exploring our greater reality. And what episode number is this one now?
I'm not sure. Gosh. You always ask me and I never know.
And usually I end up actually saying the interview number, and then I have to redo it because I'm usually one or two episodes off. But this is probably somewhere around maybe six-ish. 6 or
No,
7
probably late
maybe?
more. I think
7
probably
maybe?
8.
Because that's how
Yeah,
many
Could be.
near-death experiences I've had.
that's
There
right.
you, would that not be great? So we are having a wonderful guest with us today, Joy. And Joy is a stress and trauma resolutionary, ex-corporate executive, and inadvertent shaman. She's died 6 times, and each time has been returned with different perspectives and uncommon abilities to help others. Doctors have given up on her 6 unrelated occasions. She had to learn to heal herself. She's certified in more than a dozen holistic modality therapies, living proof that incurable means curable from within. I absolutely love
Mhm.
that, Joy. She is uniquely qualified to guide you in surviving impossible things, thriving against all odds, and experiencing joy regardless of circumstances. I feel like your skills are in high demand, particularly at this time in the world. Joy, thank you so much for joining us together. We are super excited to chat with you today.
Thank you. And I agree. I believe with all my heart, because it's the only thing that makes any of this make sense,
Mhm.
that the reason I've been through my cartoon-like life is so that I had to, in order to survive, learn all of these tools and skills and devote myself to then sharing them with others in order to give meaning to it, you know? This is my legacy. I did all this so that I could download it to all of the people who are co-creating a new world now.
Mm.
That's funny you even mentioned that because I think that is going to be our next series is on sort of dreaming in a new world. And we're going to look at a lot of different perspectives around that concept. And together, what would we like to actually create? When I was looking through some of your work and listening to some of the episodes that you've done, one thing that I really thought was wonderful that you would share is that you have gone through 6 different experiences where you have literally died and come back. And what I love is that you have a beautiful way of sort of informing how that changed your life and how it changed the way that you are actually here living your life. To me, that's kind of the essence of the benefits of a near-death experience is that it informs us to live in a different way. I'm wondering if you can, wherever you want to jump in from that, but sort of that experience of walking with death and how that changed the way that you live.
Yeah, I think that's the most important thing about it. Okay, well, that would be my second. Um, can I start with my first NDE because it leads up to why I was so wrecked in the second
Yeah,
one?
Yes,
you
please.
start wherever you want to go.
Okay, so my first near-death experience, I was 15 years old. I flew off a cliff on a motorbike wearing a full-face helmet and a bikini. They never found the bikini top, and I was rushed to hospital. And I remember being put on the operating table and the anesthesiologist counting me down. And then the next thing I remember, I was up in the corner of the room looking down at the body on the bed. And all of a sudden I realized, oh my God, that's me. And immediately realized, oh my God, that's not me. That's just my body. And this wild sense of freedom just, and then I saw it. I saw the, now it's important to remember I was an atheist before this. Once you're dead, that's it. But I saw the light, and it's, I suppose tunnel will do, you know. I can tell you what it is though. It is pure, unconditional love. And it is the most beautiful thing you will ever see or experience or know. And I wanted with every fiber of my being to go into that light. And I was stopped and I was sent back and I was furious, absolutely livid. I was 15 and I was a dancer, and I wake up in the ICU and the doctor's saying, we're going to amputate your leg. You're never going to walk again. I'd already watched that doctor kill the woman in the bed next to me. he walked in and he looked at her and he said, "I'm sorry, there's nothing we can do for you. You've got a month to live." And I watched her take that in and believe every part of it. And then I watched her die. So when he got to my bed, I said, "I will not only walk, I will dance on your grave." And that's how I got to be a silver medal winning ballroom and Latin dancer. But the focus had been so intensely on how spectacularly I'd shattered my leg that nobody noticed 13 displaced vertebrae. So it took me about 7 years to get back on my feet in all the ways. And I discovered I had an extraordinary talent for business, for creating ideas and seeing things that weren't being done and creating a thing to do the things, you know. And I grew very quickly and very well, and made my first million and married my my secretary, who was a wonderful, fabulous husband, who just did all of the things. He cooked and cleaned, and and he looked after me, so that all I had to do was go and make money, go and create ideas, and it was a wonderful relationship. Worked so well. But I was in New Zealand, and pretty soon was a big fish in a small pond and wanted more. So I persuaded him to leave everything that we had created, all of our support structure, and go to Australia, to Sydney, where I had all these big plans. And oh my goodness, it was amazing. We got this gorgeous house on Elizabeth Bay, which is the place right next to King's Cross, and we sat on the balconies sipping champagne with our millionaire mates. I had made it. I had absolutely reached everything I wanted to be. I was just so pleased with myself. And then I was hit by a drunk driver a couple of months in. And on the 18th of December, I was 24 years old, and my whole life changed completely. I couldn't speak without stuttering. I couldn't walk or stand for more than a few minutes. I couldn't lift a glass with my left hand. I lost 70% of the strength on the left side of my body. But the biggest challenge was that any time I went into any kind of stress, the soft tissue at the base of my neck would swell up, so the injuries all activated. Blood would stop going to my brain, and I would have about 3 minutes before I could. And I never knew if I would wake up from any of the blackouts, and it was a stressful time. I was blacking out multiple times a day, and each blackout was causing an oxidative stress wall in my forebrain, which meant after a couple of years of intermittent oxygen deprivation, the doctors said I would be dead or brain dead by the time I was 30. My frontal lobes scanned like an autistic child. So I walked with death for 18 months, and we got to be good mates. He taught me about priorities, the difference between important and urgent. Is it still going to matter at the end of your life? Don't let it matter now if it's not. He taught me what was really important. Now, when you wake up in the morning and you don't know if you're going to see the end of the day, you get to have a good look about, okay, so what am I going to take to God, who I now firmly believed in, as the sum total of everything I've done. God, look at all the money I made. No, and the businesses that I've created. And like, I did amazing things, broke through all of these glass ceilings, never consciously hurt anybody to do it. I got all the things, so many houses, and everything that I had seen as so important just didn't look so crash hot when I took it to God. This is some total of everything I've done. You know? So I sat with myself until I found something that I could be proud of. And it was, I made every life that I touched more joyful. And that's what I founded my life on. It hasn't been an easy life. But I learned that we get to decide how we feel. We don't get to choose what happens to us a lot of the time. But we do get to choose how we're going to feel about what happens to us. And it's this choice that matters, because it's this choice that determines what happens next. So the court-appointed psychiatrist suggested that I take up basket weed so that I could continue being a contributing member of society. I was vegetative at 30. Instead, I took up holistic healing modalities, became a world expert on clearing stress in 3 minutes or less. As you said, I'm certified in more than a dozen different healing modalities. It's probably more like 20 or 30 these days, because I just never stopped learning. Why would you? With every new modality that I learned, I grew stronger and clearer and more personally powerful. I learned mind-blowing things, like how to clear emotional trauma painlessly, how to read faces, how to bend time, how to reprogram the neurological pathways of my brain by treating it like a computer. You know, as soon as I understood my brain as a massively sophisticated bioorganic supercomputer, I was able to take charge of it. And I learned that there were a lot of programs in there that weren't loaded for my benefit. You know, there's a lot of virus programs in everybody's brains. Most of them are loaded in first frame references before age 7, when and many of them have been loaded by giants standing over us that are in charge of our whole welfare. You are stupid. You are ugly. You are worthless. You are. I found a lot of programs. Learned how to track those virus programs, eliminate them, and update the software to load programs that created a life I chose instead of one I feared. So by 30, I had co-created Australia's first end-user computing support organisation. I was the first individual ever to be nominated for an IT&T Excellence Award in industry development. I had created an entirely new industry within the support industry and created thousands of jobs where they were most needed. I was advising the state and federal government. And nobody ever knew that the reason that I'd sat down to address everybody instead of standing behind a podium like everyone else was because I couldn't stand that long. They never knew. You can do anything. Doctors don't know everything. You can do anything. We use a tiny part of our brain, the tiniest part of our brain. My executive function, I didn't have a lot of access to it, so that's why my brain tests like an autistic child when we're scanning anything that's simple, but test me on anything that's people find difficult, and I test as a genius because those things are simple to me. I literally couldn't think forward or remember back, so I learned how to think up and look down. And I think from a higher perspective. Now I'm able to just see not the problem, but the problem, the solutions, where everything came in. It doesn't matter if it's an industry or a person or whatever it is. I'm able to see the root cause. We go and we take that out, take out that first domino, and the rest disappears. You know, it's so brains are gorgeous. Love them. Okay, I've talked for a very long time now. So your turn.
Joy, you've had to do a lot of self-healing, and I love that you even had brought awareness to the fact on, I mean, this is something I've talked lots about too, but just around the importance of the caregiver and the words that the caregiver uses. And I mean, I've seen this so often too, where it's like, and this is what I'm hoping is going to be part of what is going to continually evolve and change in sort of this new earth that we are going to be creating, is that the role of caregiver is not going to be so extracted from the experience of the patient, and they're going to recognize this entanglement that takes place, and that the words that they use and the limitations they put on that person based on what they believe to be true, which is such a small, narrow bandwidth of truth, if any. I hope that starts to change. You were able to kind of see past that. From your experience over the different times that you've had to heal from within, what are the biggest take homes as far as really being able to heal from just about anything? What are the big lessons that you learned from that allows that to take place?
Bless you for that question, darling. Good job. It's such an important question. Okay. One of the most important takeaways was one of the few things I learned with my leg. So, 15 years old, pretty mad with my leg because it's not working. It becomes my bad leg. The pain is bad for a long time. And I didn't know what to do with the pain. So I did the only thing that I'd been taught to do, which was soldier on and just ignore it. Who else has that training? It doesn't help. It never works. I learned that pain is not my enemy. It's a sign saying, hello, something needs to be addressed here. Please don't ignore me. Your pain has a voice. So I spent a lot of time beating up my leg and telling it what a bad leg it was, and wondering why I wouldn't heal. It was only when I learned to treat my pain like a crying child, and instead of making it wrong, I held my leg and I told it, I'm so sorry I've made you a bad leg. You're not a bad leg. You're a wonderful leg. You do your absolute best to carry me around despite all the horrible things that I've done to you. I am listening now. I'm on board now. What can we do? How can I help you heal? What do you need? And that's when things started taking a turn for the better. So disowning your pain, your dis-ease, your illness, these things will never help. How can they? Listening to them. Our bodies are always talking to us, always. We just forgot how to listen. Can I give you a quick little example because it's important? Okay, so I want you to imagine your body is a three-dimensional hologram with conscious, subconscious, and body. You've got a problem in the conscious mind. Oh my God, they are so... But there's nothing I can do about it. So I'm just going to put it out of my mind. The issue that's been created for your personal growth and development does not flit off into the ethers. Undealt with, it will move forward to a subconscious level where it manifests in dreams, the stray thoughts. Deal with me now. No, I can't. There's nothing I can do about it. I'm just no. Okay, well, I've got no option but to move forward to a body level where I'm going to create pain and dis-ease and disharmony in your face. Deal with me now. But because we have not been taught that pain is trying to draw our attention to something that needs addressing. Ooh, hey, did you like that? And so many of us will take a pill. Now the body not only still has the issue undealt with, it's got a pill to deal with, and it just keeps getting pushed down deeper and deeper into the body, where it gets bigger and bigger until it finally gets your attention. For example, resentment. Oh, and different emotions live in different parts of the body as well. It's so fascinating. Psychoneuroimmunology became my speciality. How the way we think affects our health and well-being. Oh, it's everything. Anyway, so Resentment, for example, lives in the shoulders and hips. On the left side is home, relationships, creativity, mum stuff. The right side is work, money, logic, dad stuff. So if you've got a crook right shoulder, for example, chances are you've got some resentment issues around work, money, logic, dad. If it's on the back, then it's past, saying, hey, can we deal with this so that we can move forward without taking it along? If it's on the front, then the issue is up for you to clear now. Undealt with, long-term resentment manifests as cancer. Where the cancer is will tell you what the resentment is around. For example, think about how many women do you know have got breast cancer? Like 3 in 5, some insane figure. Oh, no, it can't be that. 2. It's just a horrifying number. How many of those women nurture everybody else except themselves? The breasts are nurturing. What do you get when you squeeze a lemon?
Lemon juice.
Yes. Do you get orange juice when you squeeze a lemon?
No.
Pickle juice?
No.
Banana juice? Pineapple juice? Why not?
Because it's a lemon.
Yes. And just like us, when we're squeezed, a lemon can only give you what's inside of it. If when you're squeezed, what you've got inside of you, if you've given to everybody your whole life and not yourself, chances are it's going to be pretty bitter and sour when you get squeezed. One of the most gorgeous compliments I ever got was, Joy, no matter what happens to you, you still give out joy. You still give out love. How do you do it? Because I fill myself with that. You want to survive anything? You want to be able to make the world a better place? You want to do all the things? Well, here's the secret. Here's the fast track. Fill yourself with what you want to give to the world and give from the overflow. When you do this, you're never coming from a position of dryness or emptiness or neediness. It's fabulous. When you take the time to fill yourself and then give from that overflow, the whole world is infinitely blessed. But most of us don't do that because we're running on empty. And so we're giving in the hopes that somebody someday will give us something to us and we will have something. And then I wanted a blue one. But if we're giving to ourselves, we can go out and get a blue one. But once one of these virus programs that's put into our society, that you, especially if you're a girl, I think it's actually in the Girl Scouts, you must think of everybody else before yourself. Just please will you stop 1 little minute and ask yourself, is that working for you? Has it ever? A belief is just a thought that we accepted as true. Now, we know our thoughts change, but we forget to check our beliefs. And these beliefs get loaded in like software. And when you go in and you find a belief like that, I have to look at everybody else, and myself last, and realize, how far is your car going to get if it's got no petrol in it? Just not far at all. And if it does have petrol in it, and you drive it and never ever give it any kind of maintenance, the oil warning lights come on, I'm just going to put some masking tape over that. That's what you're doing when you're taking a pill. That's what you're doing when you're not listening to the wisdom of your body, trying desperately to draw your attention to what's going on with it.
It made me think of, your near-death experiences allowed you to take your piece of the puzzle out of this grand tapestry of life. And maybe when you were on the other side and you came back, you recognized how important that piece is within the wholeness that you are existing within and that you're ultimately are a part of. And so maybe with that knowing, and a lot of these near-death experiencers that we're also speaking with that knowing, there is then this taking your rightful place as who you are within this world that ultimately needs you. I mean, that's why you showed up.
Yeah, and kept showing up. It's been very different. It's been very interesting. Every time, except for the first time, every time I've been returned to my body, it's been as a different, um, it's been as someone so different that I don't fit anymore. I don't fit the name. I've had a name change with each one of my near death experiences because it just didn't fit anymore. I've had like weird things. Like I used to be the best present giver. Gifts are my love language. That never changed. I love giving gifts, but like I went from being a world-class gift giver to sucking at it. Just, but after dying and the ex, like, well, how can I not? All of a sudden, I can decorate unbelievably well. Just like so, weird things like that. Things I return and I find I can't do that anymore, and I can do this now. Well, and it's interesting looking back through my photos because it reflects in my face as well. I'm like, I don't even look like a distant cousin of mine. And with each NDE, I've been returned with uncommon abilities and skills as well that are specific to healing and I do a lot of work walking between the worlds. I if you'd have told me as a corporate executive that I would be a shaman, I would have laughed in your face. I mean, like it's just so. And I don't call myself a shaman after living for some years in Los Angeles. We are not the same. But I live as a devoted channel. Um, and the puzzle pieces are very important to me because like it's my brain injuries have made it so clear I am an absolute genius in this amount of things and in everything else no, I'm not. And so I learned to gather all of the people, and then it became an automatic thing. Oh, okay, yes, of course, in order to move forward, we have to do so as a whole piece, and every single person has a different piece of the puzzle. And when they come together, the bigger picture is revealed. And oh my God, if you think that your puzzle piece isn't important, then you have never done a jigsaw with one piece missing. We need every piece.
Joy, you were talking about something I think is so important a little while ago here too, around sort of squeezing everything out of the lemon and then still trying to offer more. And this is what I find over and over again. I would say this happens in a lot of people, but I particularly see this in most of the mums that I've worked with because I often ask them, where are you on the totem pole? And a lot of times they're so far down and this idea that then usually the tell, I think, when you know if you've overextended is when something that probably organically would actually fill you up or you would do with joy or excitement starts to feel like obligation and resentment. I feel like a lot of times when that hits, we've gone too far and we've emptied ourselves up, and that's when we really need to start to fill ourselves back up, which brings me to the concept of self-love. I'd love to get your perspective on what that really means, because it's another term that I think has been watered down a lot, and
Or even
people's
self-care.
self-care,
Self-care is one of those
self-love,
things.
because I feel like a lot of times, like, no, it might just be that once a week I go to the spa or something like that. And not that there's anything wrong with that, but is it deeper than that? And
Yeah.
I can share, like, from my perspective, I feel like, and this has been a big transition and journey for myself too, and even loving myself more is putting me into the scenario within everything, running everything through that filter of me and my own authenticity and what my own truth is, and not sort of putting that always on the back burner. And the more that I allow that to be there and live my life more and more from that place, I feel like I'm loving myself enough to show up as myself. And that's created big changes in, I think, how I feel overall and in relationships. But I'd love to get your take from your experience on what does that mean to you, this concept of self-love and self-care.
Mm. Again, I think it's a programmed thing to think of, especially for the mums. That's such a good example. Um, the very best gift that you can give your kids, everybody who loves you, the very best gift is a happy you. You know, it's if you're a mum, then you want your kids to grow up like strong and in love with themselves and doing what makes them happy, you can't tell them things like this. You have to show them. You have to embody it. For the mums, especially, my joy scripture for you, darlings, is sit, sacred idleness time, and do it for your kids as well. Think just for a little minute, everybody, and tune into your body and ask, how much time do I really need for myself every day? And everybody will have a different answer. And for those who say hours, I say yes. And, you know, maybe it's not always practical. Maybe chop it up a bit. For those who are saying in 2 minutes, for those who are saying, I've got kids, your kids need this just as much as you do. Nobody thinks about how oh, we must make sure little Jimmy's always doing something, little Jamie's always, they're always busy. Let them integrate. They're stressed too. You don't think they're stressed? My God, I can't imagine growing up in this world. But you have to be an example. So make yourself a nice sign, sacred idleness time in progress. Please do not disturb. Decide, okay, so I've got 15 minutes. And you tell your kids it's sacred idleness time. They know that if the house is on fire, they can contact you. Otherwise, you're doing whatever it is. Now, there's only one rule in sacred idleness time. And hopefully they'll be said at least half now. And that is wallow in it. Roll around in it. Do what delights you in it. If you spend 1 minute going, oh, but I shouldn't be doing it. Well, no, that's not your sacred idleness time. You just have to start again now. Because otherwise you just, this shooting on yourself, stop it. It is nothing more than a big wank. It is what's keeping you stuck. Oh, I couldn't possibly, really? You tell your children that they can do anything one step at a time. The same is true for all of us. The same is true for all of us. We can do anything as long as we take it one step at a time. And self-care is part of that. Radical self-nurturing is the only thing that has gotten me through my impossible, ridiculous life. I am blessed enough to have a bathtub and hot water. If I've got something, I go into that bathtub with Epsom salts, baking soda, coconut oil, essential oils, candles, and I don't come out till it's fixed. Or I've got some kind of peace or resolution. And yes, I do have 3 and 4 hour baths. Because that's my happy place. That's my resolution place. But like, what do you love? I want you to make a list of what you love. This is your joy scripture. Write a list of all of the things you love. No, like holding back. Might be chocolate, might be trees, might be I don't care what it is. Write all of the things and do one of those things on your list every single day and watch your life change. And do it with your children. Invite them to do it too. Let's make 2023 and co-creating our new world, which we have to start with ourselves, don't we? Let's make it something that delights us. I named myself Joy as a reminder of what I decided to embody, and it is a brilliant thing. Every time somebody goes, oh, Joy, oh, yes. Every time somebody says, wow, you sure are. And it keeps me on track. It's important to have things that keep you on track, that remind you of who you are and why you're here, and what nourishes you and enables you to do the things. You know, just for a moment, think about how much of a better person and parent and spouse and child and everything, how much of a better everything are you when you have what you need. Give yourself what you need. Stop waiting around for somebody else to do it. Nobody needs that burden or expectation. Give yourself what it is that you need. That's your joy scripture.
Mm-hmm. I love that too, because I think what most people end up doing, I think a lot of time, is like they're waiting for the right time to show up before they start then the things that they want to do. And I think what is coming up as a bit of a theme sometimes is that, particularly I think when people have been crossed over and come back, they're not waiting anymore. They're just doing. And then you
exactly.
can refine and change as you go along, but you're doing, and rather than just waiting for the right time, because you kind of realize that right time that we've got in our head may never show up in the way that we think it's going to, and ultimately we will create it if we just start putting it into the world.
Yes. Decide what you want and then do everything you can from exactly where you are right now with what you have. That's all there is. You know, I am very, very aware that I I lived a very intense life because I never knew when I would die, or whether or not I'd get to the end of the day. So I never put anything off at all. And that's been a hard. I'm trying to unload that program. Cancel clear. I'm in the process of upgrading that software because I do come across as very intense, especially with the no filter and the and I like that about me, but I don't like the absolutism. But the one thing I have learned is you don't know when death's going to come for you. You think you're going to do it next week? What makes you think you're going to be here next week? What makes, especially if you live in places like Ohio or wherever it is, it's got look. There is only this moment in which to live. Please, I want to say one thing, especially to all of those who think that they're somehow unworthy or anything like that. It is not your worthiness that qualifies you to do any of this work. Worthiness has nothing to do with it. It's a big wank designed to keep you stuck. What qualifies us is our willingness.
Mm-hmm.
Are you going to stick your hand up and get in there or not? Really, it's what it boils down to. And now is the time, right now.
Mm-hmm.
Joy, what about those people who feel like they can't do it, or they're actually contemplating opting out of participating in this life? What do you say to them?
Can't blame them for that. A lot of people look around and go, no, I'm out. But my darling, you will have missed the whole point. You know what's kept me going more times than I want to admit is that I never know what's going to happen next. I come up against things I don't think I can survive. But then I look at my life and realize, well, I'm still here. And if you're still here, then it's because you've still got something to do and your light is needed. At the moment, things are tough with my jaw. So I've got a couple of choices. I can either go, I've already done enough. I don't have to live with this. But I've also seen what's next in different ways. If you're still here, it's because there's hope. And we need you. If you opt out, I can tell you one thing. Your heart will break because you didn't stay. And you'll probably have to come back and do it all again. We need you. We need you. Sorry, it's just a challenging day. So a good day. Do you know that 3 years ago today I was bit by a black widow?
That's right. I remember when we were connecting in with you, I think you had said March 2nd is the anniversary of being bitten by a black widow and beginning my journey as a master alchemist with her as my teacher. Yeah, that's got to be timely too. Is that a story you can share a little bit with on how that
Yeah, I was actually prepared for her by a brown recluse who bit me next to the brainstem. I had requested increased access to brain function, and brown recluse answered my prayer saying, well, if you can survive this, then you'll have 20-25% increased brain function. So it was highly incentivizing. That, and I knew that I had no, again, you don't get to choose what happens, but you do get to choose how you're going to feel. So I chose to understand that this was a direct answer to my prayer, and always shake your lawn chairs out if you live in Southern California and they've been stored. But I understood that this was a shamanic initiation, and I treated it as such, and I survived it. So when I got bitten by a black widow on the thigh a couple of years later, I thought, well, I'm totally going to survive this. It wasn't an issue. But I also decided that anything that painful had to have so many gifts attached, and I would not stop unpacking until I had got the juice out of every single one of it. Because, oh my God, when you're bitten by a black widow, they kill by their venom dissolves the organs of their victim. So it's intense and super crazy. So I learned, actually, I do want to share this lesson. I did everything that I could as soon as I was bitten. I packed the bite in a thick poultice of bentonite clay because it draws 31 times its molecular weight in toxins, and it just helps suck the venom right out. And I Googled to find out how much trouble I was in, and realized, oh, hell no, do not go to the hospital if you're bitten by a black widow. Never, ever get the antivenin. It's way worse than the black widow bite. So unless you're super young or old and sick, you'll be right. It'll be a challenge, but you'll be right. So, okay. So I put on Facebook, hey, I've just been bitten by a black widow, prayers and good thoughts, because prayers have saved me on more than one occasion. And then I went to bed, and I woke up the next morning, and I got my thoughts under control, and I'm okay, and it's still painful. I changed the poultice, and then I went on Facebook, and my Facebook friends were freaking out. Oh my God, you have to go to the hospital. Why? This fella lost his leg, and this person went blind, and this person died. And I let the fear grab a hold of me. Within 5 minutes, I was holding a hot cup of coffee. Within 5 minutes, the poultice and my leg was the same temperature as the cup. And I thought, oh, this isn't good. And I quickly unwrapped it and looked, and it had grown 15% in just 5 minutes with this fear. Because here's the thing, my loves. It is not the poisonous animal, the poisonous, hateful thing that somebody's done to you that's going to kill you. It is the venom moving unrestricted to your heart. So I knew that if I let fear continue to run the show, then I would be in big trouble. And so I shut off Facebook and I put bumper bars in the thoughts of my mind. How I reprogrammed my brain with joy as a baseline was, in any circumstance, regardless of what it is, I train myself to look for the most joyful thought. And then I hang on to this as tight as I can. And I do not allow myself the foolish indulgence of any negative, fearful thinking, because it'll destroy you so fast. And the most joyful thought, if you've got nothing and everything is going to hell, you use this one. This is a miracle I don't understand. And this is the thought I held on to. And I decided, okay, I know that I'm not going to die. So I also know it's not going to be a great ride. And so I get to choose what it is going to be. And I have decided that this, like a brown recluse, is a shamanic initiation. And I do not know yet why Black Widow has gifted me this venom, but I do know that this is happening for me, not to me, and that is how I will proceed. And then I asked Grandmother Spider if I immediately removed the word from my vocabulary and from my head, Black Widow, because way too scary a word. Replaced it with grandmother spider. Grandmother, please, will you be my teacher through this? And she said nothing, and I took that as a yes. And just proceeded as if for the entire way. And the miracles, it took me 7 months. I trained with her. She became my teacher because I wouldn't have it any other way. I just kept assuming that this is what it is. And like I wound my oh, that's right. I went to my oh, that's why. I went to my friend's house a week later, and we were being interviewed for the Red Tent for the LA Times. And this woman was turning up, and I walked in. My friend had got a cat. He's massively allergic to cats. Oh God. I entered the place, started sneezing. For an hour, I'm sneezing. I am sneezing, sneeze face. This is not an interviewing thing. And I said, what am I going to do? Okay, grandmother, please, can you help me clear this allergy? This is what made me study with her for as long as I possibly could. I'll never forget this moment. I felt the energy of grandmother spider come up, face the allergens, say, Black Widow bitches, there's no room for you here, and poof, everything. They had not been allergic to cats. That moment, the sneezing stopped, my throat opened, my eyes dried up, all of the allergies went away. I cat sit that cat afterwards. And that's the moment. That's the moment I discovered, it's worked, it worked, it worked. You know, she taught me how to you know, I had my arm rolled up in the car window, and it was bad. It would have normally taken weeks, and I called on her, and she wrapped up the bone, and it was amazing, absolutely amazing. And so I just decided that this would be a shamanic initiation, and for as long as she would work with me, I would totally devote myself to learning everything I could about alchemy. And that's how I became white peacock woman, because peacocks are revered in all of these religions because they eat poisonous plants and venomous snakes and spiders, and they alchemize that venom into the glory of their feathers. Without the venom, the feathers would not be what they are. And so I work with peacock people who have incarnated into a particular lineage or societal niche to alchemize poisonous patterns and behaviors into the glory of new choice. And there are so many of these people, and they've come to like clear for the collective, and it's amazing. And most of them have no idea of the enormous amount of support, angelic and ancestral support that they have for this. Wow. They stand on the shoulders of their ancestors, and it's amazing. They're here to all of the cycles are being completed now. It's such an exciting time to be alive.
Wow.
That's a really beautiful way to think about it too. It's like alchemizing the poison into something beautiful.
Yes.
Yeah, I think that's wonderful. And these stories are wild too, because it just, I mean, this is sort of where we say like we really know such a little part of what we perceive as being our reality, and there's so much more to it. And when you have these types of stories and these experiences, and then you see the tangible change that happens right after, you know there's something going on. So whether or not people can completely grasp exactly how it's happening, I think the exciting part is that it does happen, and we are capable of it. And if it's supportive for you, then why not open up to allowing that type of magic into your life? So
Absolutely. You get to decide, is this am I a victim with something awful happening to me, or is this a Shiro's journey that I get to, I'm on a side quest now, and I don't know why, but this is happening to me. And I understand that there's people on this call that thinks I'm a complete nutcase. That's fine, darling. That too is none of my business. I'm just sharing what happened to me, and I'm still in awe of the magic of the world, and it delights me that there's so many sentient beings, some of them are even human, that are just wanting to help us grow, you know, but don't restrict yourself to humans. Every tree, every creature has life, and gifts for us if we know how to be open to receive them.
Hmm.
Joy, I was reading in the Seth material years before COVID came about around there is this time coming where we're going to get confused because of fear, and thereby we're going to lose our capacity to heal because fear has entered the equation. So, when you spoke of fear as well, how does fear interrupt our healing capacity?
Oh, it derails it entirely, mate.
Mm.
You know, if I'd have dropped into fear, I had a chance of being dead because my body's in a fine balance. You know, if you don't take control and decide what thoughts you're going to think and which direction you're going to go in, you'll probably die. Yeah, it's we're entering interesting times. These are heroes and sheroes journeys, and if you watch the Lord of the Rings, you'll know that heroes come in all different ways. And um, I in order to combat fear, I ensure that I do things that terrify me at least a few times a week. Um, I've just come off a 21-year walkabout of traveling in service to divine well-being, going wherever upstairs management sends me, and working with whomever was placed before me. And I'm so relieved and grateful to have my own space to heal and to do what I need to do now. But I find I get lazy. I do. Got a roof over my head, got food in my fridge. So in order to keep my edge, I have myself dropped off in random places and see who upstairs management sends me to pick me up and take me home. I do things that are way out of my element, and that really helps in a lot of ways. I understand that fear is the gift that I give myself so that I can experience courage. And what kind of movie would you watch that only had utopia all the way through? Nothing happened, no challenges to overcome. You'd be bored in a minute, you would. If you're here on the planet, it's because you signed up for this heroes and sheroes journey as well. And so get in it. If you're not enjoying it, then find a way to enjoy it. Find a way, because, like, if you're still here, I'm living proof that you only get to die when it's your time, all right? Frankly, if I had known I was going to live this long, I am now literally twice the age and 2 years that any doctor said I would get to. I would still wake up in the morning going, really? Okay, off we go another day then. No, you want to be able to get to the end of your life and go, yes, not, oh, damn, I wish I had of that. Let that be your worst fear. Never do that. Nope.
Mhm.
Nope.
One of the exercises, Joy, that I used to do for a few years on my birthday was I actually used to write down on a piece of paper my deepest regret, and I would list all of it down. I would just, find a quiet time. I love my quiet times. I would find a quiet time during the day and just purge, just write down everything that I regretted initially in my whole lifetime. And then because it was more frequent just the year prior. And then after I purged, what that exercise helped me to do, my deepest regret, is I became consciously aware of those things that didn't really work very well for me, or I didn't sit well, or I regretted. So then therefore, when the moment would come in my life on a daily day-to-day basis, on a moment-to-moment basis, I was much more clear on, well, is that going to be a regrettable decision, or is that going to be really truly a joyful decision? That I'm opening up to. And then I would finish off with a list of all the things I was grateful for. And I know that, when I initially even started to focus in on those things that I was grateful for, it was a rough period of my life where there was very little. I mean, I was going through a divorce and I had a young child as well. And every decision that I was making wasn't supported by anybody, none of my family members, not my ex-husband, no one around me. And so that was a really rough time. And my gratitude list, and I would write 5 in the morning and 5 in the evening before I went to bed, was like, it was like rolling in the mud. It was so hard, and actually trying to conjure up something that I could find in the day to be grateful for. So it became very basic, like, the feeling of the water on my body when I'm in the shower, the feeling of warmth when I wrap the blanket around me, the quiet solitude that I have in the moments that I'm in the car before my son comes into the car. Like, I would just find really basic things, and then little by little, what that would do in my mind and in my day is I would actively be searching for things that would make me more grateful, more joyful. And then so the list became easier to write. And before I knew it, like how we do it now, nighttime when we go to bed, we do this with our kids too, all of the things that we're grateful for. And I have to say, the most powerful meditations that I've had is not really by focusing in on any particular method or structure or way of meditating, but it has more to do with actually stepping into the field, the frequency of gratitude. And that naturally brings me in touch and in contact with all these things that I couldn't have even prepared for or asked for. But it's like, by stepping into that field through the avenue of genuine, heartfelt appreciation and love, I'm able to then open up to this realm that is so beyond the physicality of what I've known on through my five senses.
Yes, 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 yes. Gratitude will take you there. And what privilege we have to be warm. What privilege we have to have a roof over our heads. So there's so many homeless people so everywhere. One of the things that I found, because gratitude is, you're right, it's so important. And I used to keep a gratitude journal, but I would stick it in a drawer and forget about it. So now I do something that's much simpler and more powerful for me. I keep a gratitude calendar. And on the last thing that I do every night is I write what I'm most grateful for in the squares. I've been doing this for about 8 or 10 years now, and so I have all of these calendars filled with everything that I'm grateful for, and it's wonderful to flick back when you need a boost, or and as you say, it begins to train the brain to looking for, oh God, I'm going to have to write. What am I going to do? And I used to, when I had a family, everybody coming to the table would have to bring what they were most grateful for that day and something that they learned that day.
Mm.
And this enriches everybody in such delicious ways. And if you didn't learn anything, there's the encyclopedia over there. That's how old I am.
I really love those types of exercises, and I think kind of even like bookends to your day, if you could do something along those lines in the beginning and something along the lines towards the end, it really does set the stage up.
Gratitude and what you learn that day. I love that
Mhm.
because it's exactly what you were speaking of earlier, in that it doesn't happen to me, it happens for me. So if we can see it as a lesson, it's an opportunity for growth.
And we
That's,
train our brain to look for it and think about it
yes,
like that. And then that's where the real magic is, because then after a while, that becomes your default.
Mm.
You just start to
yes,
view the world from a different perspective, especially if you're used to seeing it as what's happened to me through the
yes.
day to what have I learned today. And then that gives you the skills to now put that into action to make the next changes and the next changes. So I love it. Joy, I know we're coming up on time here. Any final words that you have for the audience that you would like to share with them before we finish up?
We are so very grateful for the light that you bring. We give thanks, we give thanks, we give thanks for this wonderful being watching us. We give thanks for all of their helpers, seen and unseen. And we give thanks for all of their miracles, known and unknown, that help them live their most joyous life and better in each and every moment. May you be blessed. Thank you. Thank you both so much for having me.
Joy, thanks so much.
Thank you, Joy.
Joy, where can people learn more about the work that you are doing? Where can they learn more about the books? You've got children's stories, your TikTok's grandmother, TikTok's fairy godmother. So where can you, where can people learn more about your work?
Well, I am at TikTok's fairy godmother with a FAERY. My website is experiencejoy.com. You can remember that. And if you go there, I will send you a 15-minute video that shows you how to relax instantly, keep a clear head no matter what's going on, and clear stress from your body. And when your part of the deal is you measure your stress levels on a scale of 1 to 100 before you watch the video. Then you do the 3 simple tools with me and you measure your stress again at the end of the video. And then you go ahead and you share what you learned, because everybody needs to know these things. Experiencejoy.com.
We'll have those in the links in the show notes, and everybody can go check that stuff out. Super important information to have on hand, particularly now and really ongoing. These are kind of exercises you keep coming back to.
Yes. And if you do want to fast track, if you have trauma or stress or fear or anything that's illness that's just overwhelming, then I do one-on-one sessions. And it doesn't matter where you are. God doesn't mind. It's a 2-for-1 deal. While I'm reprogramming your conscious and subconscious, upstairs management is working through me. And that's how I can guarantee results. It's not me, but I'm so grateful to be a channel for this work.
Joy, thank you so much for being with us today and being a part of this series.
Thank you, darlings.